What if your body isn't the enemy that you have believed that it is? In today's episode, we're talking about one of the biggest mind shifts in functional health and your health, and that is learning to stop fighting your body and start understanding it. And when we replace fear with curiosity and criticism with compassion, we create that space for healing to really start. Because every symptom has a story, and every story deserves to be understood. I refuse to believe you're broken. Welcome to Every Symptom Has a Story. I'm Wendy Handy, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, health consultant, educator, and lifelong student of functional health. I believe every symptom has a story. Every body leaves clues, and I believe that your body has an incredible capacity to move toward healing when we create the right conditions that allow it to do what it was designed to do. And each week we'll make complex health understandable, and we'll explore the science, the stories, and the practical steps that help you become your own best health advocate, because understanding changes everything. So let's make this make sense. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Every Symptom Has a Story. I'm Wendy Handy, and I'm truly grateful that you've joined me here again today. I want to start with a question. Have you ever felt like your body is betraying you or working against you? Maybe you've even said to yourself some things like, my body's turned against me. My body is attacking itself. And maybe you've even said or thought to yourself, my body's broken. And if you have, I want you to know that you're not alone, because I said those very words to myself, especially the one where my body is attacking me or attacking itself. And so I'd like to kind of very gently offer another possibility to that. And that is, what if your body is not working against you? What if it is not broken? What if it is not attacking itself? But it's actually working very, very incredibly hard to protect you. So see, when I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, I really at the time was first of all, I was fearful. That was the first thing. And fearful, just because of, I think that sometimes doctors in their quest to be honest are just too blunt, and they paint a picture that's not really very pretty a lot of the times. And then I was angry. And honestly, I felt very betrayed, because I thought that my body was completely failing me. I thought that it's like, why is this doing this to me? I'm young, I'm in good shape, I'm taking what I thought was taking good care of myself. And every flare that I had at the time, they were quite often. There was a period of time where it just never stopped. But every time reinforced that belief to me. And every symptom had me feeling that my body had become something that, I was like, I couldn't even trust it anymore, right? I couldn't even trust that something wouldn't happen and I wouldn't have a flare. And when you start to believe that that's the truth, that your body is the enemy, then everything becomes a battle. And we're constantly fighting. And we're constantly in that fight or flight mode, which, if you've ever heard me say it before, you can't heal when you're in fight or flight. But you start fighting your symptoms. You start trying to fight the fatigue. You start fighting against yourself, right? And when I look back to that time, I realized something. That my body really wasn't trying to hurt me. It was very desperately trying to get my attention. And I just didn't understand how, or I didn't understand the language at the time. And as I started learning more and more about functional health after seeking out a functional health practitioner, one question really came back to me, and it kept coming back to me. And that is that, what if every symptom had a reason, had a purpose? And I'm not saying because symptoms are good, because, they're not. And they sure don't feel good. But because symptoms often represent the body's attempt to adapt to something, it's there to protect, it's there to compensate or communicate. Think about a fever. When you get a fever, you get uncomfortable, right? You get very cold, even though you're hot and sweating, and you might feel delirious, or you just don't feel well. But it's also part of the body's defense system. Pain tells us something needs attention, and fatigue could be asking us to slow down. And digestive symptoms might be telling us that something just isn't working well, or you're just, you're doing too much, or maybe you're eating the wrong thing. That could be a thing too. But again, I know that symptoms aren't pleasant, but they're often very meaningful when you look at it a different way. And when we understand that, then everything starts to change. And one of the first things I tell clients is that, when they come to me and I hear the whole story and we're trying to put the pieces together, I will tell them that, your body isn't trying to ruin your life. It's trying to keep you alive. It's trying to protect you. And that doesn't mean that every symptom has a very simple explanation, because you've heard me say it before, they don't. And it might be far removed from where the actual symptom is happening. In other words, it could be starting somewhere, an entirely different system than you think it is. Not every health condition can be reversed, right? That's reality. But what it does mean is that we can approach our bodies with more compassion rather than being critical, and critical of not only your body, but of yourself, right? Or the situation even. And curiosity, instead of fear, is something that can really shift. It can really shift your whole thought process around things. And when you start to think differently, you start to heal differently. And when you start to look at every, symptom as being maybe it's a partnership instead of a resistance against something. Because I'll tell you, you're never going to heal. And it's rarely going to start by self-judging or, beating yourself up or hating something, right? It often's going to start with understanding. So think about this. If your best friend came to you and they were hurting, what would you likely tell them? Would you be critical of them? Would you start pointing the finger? Would you start being angry? Or would you sit beside them and listen and ask questions and then try to understand what it was that they needed, or try to understand what maybe started this whole thing? And so if you start thinking that, offering that very same compassion to yourself, because it's so interesting that our negative self-talk is something that, when you think about sometimes what you say to yourself, my goodness, you would never say that to a friend. You just wouldn't. It's because a lot of times what you say to yourself is not very nice. So, start offering yourself the same compassion that you would to a friend and to your own body. Because for many of us, that can be very difficult, right? Because we are and myself included, a lot of times, are our own biggest critics, right? And we beat ourselves up. But it may also be the one that's one of the most healing things that you could ever do for yourself. So for this week, I'd like you to start noticing the language that you use when you talk to yourself, and specifically when you talk about your body. In so many different ways, and start listening for things like, my body's broken, or my body's giving up on me, or my body's fighting me, and start replacing those with thoughts of a very simple question. What is my body trying to protect me from? And you never need to know the perfect answer because there isn't one, truly. It's really more of a mindset shift to begin to start asking different questions and to begin to look at things differently. So I want you to think about this. Today's clue to consider is your body has been working for you every moment of every day since the day that you were born. Maybe it's time to start partnering up with it again and start listening and start being compassionate and start having compassion for not only your body, but for yourself too. So today, place your hand over your heart. Take one slow, deep breath. And then I want you to quietly say, thank you, body. Even if you're struggling, even if you're frustrated, even if you're hurting, begin with gratitude. Sometimes healing has to start right there, giving yourself gratitude. And stop being so hard on yourself. Stop being so critical and have some more compassion for yourself. Have the same compassion that you would have for a friend or a family member, and have that same compassion for yourself. So thanks again for joining me today. If this episode encouraged you, I'd love for you to subscribe, even leave a review, and share it with somebody who maybe needs a little bit of hope today. And if you're ready to begin understanding the story behind your own symptoms, once again, coming soon, hopefully very soon, is something I've created to help you do that. It's designed to help you slow down. It's designed to help you notice patterns and begin to start seeing your body through a lens of curiosity rather than through fear. And remember that every symptom has a story, and every story deserves to be understood. So until next time, stay curious, listen well, and take one small step toward understanding the story behind your symptoms. Talk to you next week. Thanks for spending time with me today. If this episode encouraged you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little hope and a little understanding. And remember, you are not your diagnosis. Your body isn't broken. Every symptom has a story. Every body leaves clues. So, stay curious, trust the process, and together we'll understand. Until next time, take good care of yourself.